Hello guys and welcome to Sophisticated Obsession. I have had quite a few people that have asked me to do some designer fragrance reviews rather than just focusing on the niche fragrances. So today I'm going to be treating you to some of that. We have Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme coming up. Hello guys and welcome back to Sophisticated Obsession. My name is Matt and we are going to be looking at a designer fragrance. First of all, what is a designer fragrance? This is a fragrance that is easy to come by. It is made from a major fashion house that is very, very well known. Also, designer fragrances are far easier to come by. So you could get them in department stores, but you could also get them in shopping centres, supermarkets, that type of place. Niche fragrances, which is what I usually focus on, they are far harder to come by, and I would probably say that you've got to go to somewhere where it's quite specialist to then actually get your hands on one of these fragrances. Today we are going to be looking at the House of Chanel, and we are going to Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. Just a little bit of background from Chanel. Chanel has made some absolutely outstanding fragrances, and this is one of them. Now I will go in more detail on what I think to this fragrance and whether I think that you should buy it in a moment. But also there are other fragrances in the Chanel brand, such as Bleu de Chanel. Now that is probably one of the most famous things that have actually come out of that brand. They major on having really good masculine, mass appealing scents. And I think that Bleu de Chanel was one of the most purchased fragrances of 2017, 16, 15, basically since it then came out. So next, let's go into a little bit of detail of what actually this smells like. This goes heavy on zest, and I'm thinking a lot of lemon, but it is a sweeter lemon, so it's almost like it's a like a lemon meringue sort of pie. Loads of people have said that because there is a creaminess there and it is very citrusy, but there is that sweetness going underneath. This does get a lot of good reactions from people. After that citrus burst in the head notes, you then go into the heart notes, which the citrus dies down ever so slightly, but you do still get that really nice fresh element from it. The sweetness intensifies, but you also then get a real nice manly sort of edge with the creaminess, and it's just like a really comforting smell. Then in the base, the zest is pretty much all but gone, and what you've then got is really nice subtle creaminess that then just dies down into a skin scent. It is really pleasant. Allure Homme Sport is like what it says in the name, a sporty fragrance. It's really invigorating. Like this fragrance, designer fragrances, they are there for mass appeal, okay? Loads and loads of people will want to then wear designer fragrances to get compliments, and to be quite honest, that is what they do. They do garner a lot of compliments, they do get a lot of reactions. So if it is that you just want compliments from your fragrance rather than having what's known as like an experience or a or something that is quite unique, then I would probably say that designer fragrances are the way to go. Also, the other thing to think about when purchasing a fragrance is that designer fragrances are a hell of a lot cheaper. I will go into the pricing of this in just a moment, but on the whole, designer fragrances, they tend to be half the price of what niche fragrances are. Now that might be because they are easily accessible and they are very easy to come by, but also it might be that if everything was really expensive, then niche fragrances wouldn't really have a market, and they wouldn't really have a place where they can actually compete with the likes of Chanel Allure Homme Sport. The next thing that I want to say is, why does it say Eau Extreme? This is a eau de parfum concentration, so this is not an eau de toilette. Now, this is important in terms of longevity. Eau de toilette seems to last only about 2, maybe 3 hours at best. This will guarantee you a full day's wear. You do get a hell of a lot better projection and a lot better performance on the whole using an eau de parfum concentration. The reason I have said that is because this is a little bit more expensive than the eau de toilette. However, the performance and the longevity that you are then gaining by purchasing this is well worth the money. So if you are going to invest in this fragrance, I would strongly urge you just to pay a little bit more to then get this one. Finally, this bottle is 100 mils, so this is going to set you back £92. Chanel seems to be pretty notorious when it comes to actually finding places where they're shifting discount. I can barely find anywhere that gives me a discount on Chanel. If you have not done so already, check out our other video of duty-free tips, because if you are going on holiday, then you should be able to then get a little bit of discount on this one. Now, you can find other places such as Harvey Nicks, Harrods, places like that that do actually have 10% discount days. All you have to do is just sign up to those places and they will then send you an email when they have a promotion on. Usually, not always, but usually they do have 10% off on the beauty range as well. So you may be able to then get 10% off this as well. Now, yes, it is only like £9.20, but it's better in your pocket than theirs. Okay, so now that I've gone through everything that I think you need to know about Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, it's now down to the rating. First of all, presentation. The presentation to Chanel Allure Homme Sport is fairly basic, actually. In terms of the bottle, it's a really, really nice, sleek design, but there isn't really much going on. There isn't really anything too interesting about it. I mean, it is a very, very sleek bottle, but that's about it. Now, in terms of the atomizer, this is probably its best feature. It does yield a heck of a lot of juice, but I've got to say, the box that it comes in isn't particularly interesting. It's just a standard silver box with then this writing on the top. So I'm gonna say, because of the simplicity to it, it doesn't get a point for its presentation. Number 2, versatility. This is where this fragrance really comes into its own, because I think that this is a bit of a dumb reach fragrance. You can wear this dressed up or dressed down. You could wear this to the gym, to the beach, or going for a nice like evening dinner, all dressed up in your DJ, your dicky bow and everything. So I think that this is incredibly versatile. I think that this is really, really versatile, and I think that everybody who has this in their collection will not be able to find an occasion that this does not suit. So it most certainly does get a point for the where and when. Number 3, target audience. This is a man's fragrance because it is bold and masculine and it has that sort of sexy vibe. I think that any women, they would love smelling it on a man. However, I cannot imagine any women wanting to wear this. In terms of designer fragrances, they tend to market themselves to genders, which, to be quite honest, in this day and age, I'm kind of against. I think that anybody should be allowed to wear any fragrance. However, they're always marketing fragrances like this using either male models, female models, and actually putting it into categories. Well, should this really be put into then a gender-specific category? I don't think so. However, I do think that this fragrance probably would be worn by men. In terms of the age of the men, I would go younger. I know that people have bought this who have been maybe a little bit more mature, and they haven't really enjoyed it as much as, say, I've enjoyed it. And I think that that is because it's got a relatively young quality about it, and that definitely comes from the sweetness and from the zestiness. Older gentlemen, I don't know if I'm just stereotyping here, but they tend to go for more bold, sophisticated scents. So with that in mind, I don't think it gets a point. Number 4, performance. The performance on this is really good. Most designer fragrances I find on my skin don't last that long. However, because I have gone for the eau de parfum concentration, which is why it then says Eau Extreme at the bottom, I think that that is probably the reason why I get a little bit more. In terms of just in general going for the eau de parfum concentration of different fragrances, that sometimes does alter the smell of the fragrance, so just be mindful of it. In terms of how long it lasts, I get a solid 8 hours from this fragrance. That is pretty good, and it's not even like it's just a measly sort of skin scent at the end of the day. I do really smell it on my skin. Now yeah, there might not be a huge scent cloud, but it is still prominent. However, just after the first spray, be mindful of who you are around. If you've sprayed in an office, at least let that fumigate a little bit, just because you can choke somebody out if you overspray this within too much of a short time span. However, it definitely gets a point for its performance. Number 5, Uniquness. In terms of the uniqueness, this is unique in terms of a scent because it has got those lovely lemony, creamy notes that I think is quite different for a designer masculine scent. However, there does seem to be the underlining sort of masculine go-to scent, as it were, that you find in quite a few major fashion houses. I'm thinking Dior with Dior Sauvage. I'm also thinking Versace with Dylan Blue. They all have a very similar DNA at the back of each of those fragrances, and this is similar. It's not as dark as some of those fragrances, but it does still have that masculine quality that I think probably is a little bit generic. So I'm gonna be uber critical and say it does not get a point for its uniqueness. So in total, that gives Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme a 2 out of 5. Now, some people watching that will then think, Jesus Christ, you've bigged it up and then you're only giving it a 2 out of 5? What's that all about? I have got to be really critical about all of the fragrances that I own, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you a proper review, and I'm not just saying, yeah, it's a gorgeous fragrance, go out and buy it. I want you to actually listen to what I'm saying and actually think about a fragrance in a critical way just before you then start splashing the cash, because the last thing that I want is you commenting saying, ah, you told me to get this fragrance and it's rubbish and now I'm blaming you. If I was just doing this and being totally biased, I would give this a huge score. I would. But because I'm thinking about other fragrances that I have in my collection and also other fragrances that are out there on the market, I then do have to compare it with those. This is a fantastic summer fragrance. It's a really nice summer fragrance, and I think that this could do all year round. However, I just think that there are other fragrances out there that also garner the same sort of reactions. So that is why I am being critical. That is my review of Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. Thank you so much for watching, and also check out our blog at sophisticatedobsession.com. Also, please subscribe to our Instagram and Facebook account at Sophisticated Obsession. Check out our Twitter at SoObsession, and also hit that big subscribe button here. That's all we got time for. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we will be back with some more content very shortly. Have a great day, guys. See you later. Bye.